This is Jesús, Manuel, Mena, Garza. I just returned from a week-and-a-half trip from Texas to California. I traveled through Arizona, New Mexico, and of course California. I camped in several states, and I just wanted to talk about my various experiences with my camera, my equipment, and my truck. The first thing, I overpacked. I brought too much stuff. In fact, the first night I tried to camp in the dark, it was so overpacked I couldn't find things. And again, it was dark. So I ended up going to a hotel. The next day I did do some camping. I got there early when there was some light so I could move around stuff. And yes, I had enough room in the back of my pickup truck, my little camper shell, to camp. I didn't do any cooking. I didn't do any, I didn't use my grill. So maybe if I was there for several days instead of just one, I just stayed overnight and then drove. I stayed overnight and I just drove. So I enjoyed it quite a bit. I slept quite nicely. I just put my little pad, I had a little pad that I put down. I ended up going to one of the small stores and buying just a roll-around pad that just self-inflates. Nothing too expensive. I think it was around 30 bucks. It wasn't one of the $100 versions, but it still worked very nicely, and I just rolled it out and slept right on top. I did have a sleeping bag, so one night I slept with a sleeping bag. It worked out okay. But what I really liked was my wife gave me a comforter. What do you call it? The down comforter, and I just slept in that thing, and that was very nice. I put it under me and I put it around me, sort of made myself into a little Mexican taco, and then I just slept in that, and that was super comfortable. I really liked that. So another thing I didn't like in certain spots that I camped, it was hell noisy. I remember in Boron, I could hear the train come by every few hours, and of course people would stop and park pretty close to me, open their car, their alarm would go off, blah, 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 blah. It wasn't too pleasant. Other spots, quiet, very nice. And I do admit I do want some quiet when I'm camping and trying to sleep. Just like my house. My house has double pane windows, highly insulated, brick all the way around, all 3,000 square feet, solid brick, and it's across the street from a lake, and not too many neighbors, not a police station or a fire department nearby. So it's very quiet. So I got used to quiet. I like quiet. And when I go camping, I do not want to hear everybody make a bunch of racket in the trains and the highway. List goes on and on. So that's my analysis of my camping experience. And my camera experience, I noticed that my camera has my Nikon, that's not my Nikon, I shot a lot of photographs with my Nikon, they came out great. They're mainly just for prints and for stills. But for my video I shot with my Panasonic Lumix G85. And I noticed that even though it has in-body and in-lens stabilization, it couldn't compensate for my highly caffeinated state of being. So when I went around, it sort of went boom, 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 boom. Even though I was trying to go like this, moving the camera, it still went boom. It's sort of very unusual, very unusual. I guess I'm going to have to develop a better system. Maybe I should use my camera a little bit smoother when I'm traveling, just a little bit smoother, because I'm just, and I got to stay with the shot longer. I have a video coming up on Santa Rosa. When I stopped off in Santa Rosa, I shot quite a bit of video on a tripod. That should be smooth because it's on a tripod. I'm not hand-holding most of it. So that should come out very, very nice. And I also did an interview with my friend Daniel Bacher, an activist in Sacramento. And I had that on a tripod. That should come out very smooth. So that's my experience. My hand-holding of the Lumix G85, not too good. Didn't have a very good experience. I had to get a lot more practice holding it. It wasn't like I was using a gimbal. It was definitely sort of had that staccato motion when I panned, when I moved around. I moved like that with the camera. It would go instead, like I said, I want to say it one more time. It went like that. Not good. But the audio quality of my Rode video mic, my mini micro video mic, excellent. I've been using it quite a bit. Instead of my lavalier, and instead of using my digital recorder, I just connect the microphone on top of the cameras, put my camera on wide angle. I'm about 3 feet away, and I have the widest aperture. It does make my nose look a little bit bigger because I'm using wide angle. As you photographers know, if you get too wide, your nose gets bigger and your ears get bigger, and it makes you look a little funky. But I don't mind looking a little funky if the sound's okay. It's better to shoot in telephoto with, but for YouTube videos, hey, I'm not an egomaniac. I'm not a supermodel. I know that. I'm over 65 years old. I am ugly and I'm old. That's the sad fact, okay? So that's my experience from my 10-day road trip from Texas, by way of New Mexico, by way of Arizona, by way of Southern California, to Northern California, San Jose, Sacramento, the whole area. I loved it. I really enjoyed it, meeting family and seeing friends, seeing all the folks in the future. I did miss having my wife along. My wife is definitely a joy to be with, but she had to teach classes at the university, so I had to leave her behind because she had to work. So again, thanks for looking at my video. My name again is Jesús, Manuel Mena Garza. This is my mini report from my Turkey Day 2017 sojourn, my little trip. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share my video. I would greatly appreciate that. And finally, gracias, adios, bye-bye.